All right, everybody. Good evening. I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins on a Thursday evening. No goal. Watching the Lightning game here in the Weather Center and keeping an eye on the Hurricane Center season, not the Hurricane Center, the Hurricane seasonal forecasts that are coming out. We had another one issued today. You might remember AccuWeather issued theirs earlier. Was it the first of the month? I think it was the first of the month, yeah. And now Colorado State University has issued theirs. And so I just want to kind of get you up to speed on that and let you know the reasoning behind all of it. So here are their numbers: 17, 8, and 4. And basically the average, the 12 named storms is what we normally see. 17 is what Dr. Klotchbach is thinking that we're going to see this year. Last year we saw 30. We had a record number last year, way deep into the Greek alphabet. So obviously if this happens, that would be great news, right? It would be so much less than what we've been dealing with. Number of hurricanes on average is 6, and he's thinking we'll see a little bit more than that. That means you can get a tropical storm, but it doesn't become a hurricane, right? If it's a tropical storm and gets a name, he's thinking 17 of those. Of those 17, 8 would strengthen to become a hurricane, and of those 8, 4 of those, half of them, could be Cat 3 or higher. And that's a sign of the warmer water that's out there in a warming atmosphere. And so that this type of forecast, not surprising at all. By the way, let's take a look. This is AccuWeather's forecast. They put this out. Again, I think it was at the beginning of the month. Very similar, 16 to 20. They do a span. NOAA will do a span as well. 7 to 10 of those becoming hurricanes and 3 to 5 of those major hurricanes. So pretty close to where Colorado State is. But, you see 20 on there. That's still a lot. That's a lot more than the average of 12. So we'll have a above average season. And let's go into a couple of reasonings why. So first of all, and this is a real easy one to look at, that yellow that you see there is warmer than normal water. And we need 80 plus degree water, pretty deep too, to make good hurricanes, right? Because it's blowing the water on the top, and it's called latent heat. It's using that evaporative moisture going up to make the storm. And the storm can't keep coming right back down on itself. It will collapse. So it's got to spread out, and it just keeps needing to suck up energy. And that's the warm, moist energy that feeds it. So the warmer the water is, in theory, right, the more storms you can get. And that's usually what we see if you have other conditions that are right. So this is just one ingredient. Even if you have super warm water, doesn't mean you're going to get a hurricane. You need other ingredients, right? But that's one ingredient. If you look, most of the area, first we're going to start looking in here in the Western Caribbean and the Gulf, and even get out into the main development region, which is out here. Some near normal water right now, but a lot of that's starting to get above average. So warmer than normal water. Then the other one is La Nina. So, we once in a while we'll talk about La Nina and El Nino. Well, that's the water temperature and the wind profile over the eastern Pacific. This is west of South America, right? What happens there affects the weather over the Atlantic. And what it really does is it affects the wind shear. And wind shear is bad for storms. So when you have La Nina, you end up having less wind shear over the Atlantic. And that means you can make more storms. As those storms grow up, they don't get sheared apart, right? If we have a storm coming towards us, we want that shear to hit it and knock it apart. So this thing's probably going to fall apart before it even gets to us, right? We had La Nina last year too, by the way. If you look at this, and I know this is kind of tough to see. Let me see, maybe I can even draw it here. So here's where we are now, right? That's not going to be even tougher. It's a same color. But basically, it's coming up a little bit. All right, it's here now. It's going to come up a little bit. And then right in this area right in here, this is the heart of the season. So this is a stronger La Nina, than it is here, right? So La Nina is weakening. The model is suggesting by the time we get to the heart of the season, like August, September, October, it starts to try and come back a little bit. Still doesn't forecast it to be as strong as what it is right now and what it was last year. So that's actually pretty good news. But it's not necessarily going away. It's not going to El Nino. El Nino is what you would want because you'd get more wind shear. And if storms did form, it would have a better chance at least of blowing them apart. Doesn't mean they're going to blow them all apart, but at least that's a better chance. El Nino would be up here. Looks like we're going to be down in here somewhere. So that's another reason, warmer water than that. So just those two alone, you put that together. We're still in this cycle, 25-year cycle basically, of higher activity, and sure as heck happened last year, right? The names for this year. Take a look at the names. Remember, there are 6 lists. They repeat every year. If you have a strong storm like Dorian, even Eta that affected us, Eta got retired, so there'll never be an Eta. But I'll talk about that. There will never be an Eta again, anyways, because they retired the whole Greek alphabet as a list. But we'll talk about that next. These are the names for this year: Anna, Bill, Claudette, Danny, Elsa, Fred, and Grace. So we'll see. We'll see how far we get into this list. But what I wanted to talk about was the Greek alphabet. So they actually retired the whole Greek alphabet. They're just not going to use it anymore. And they came up with another list, a supplemental list, so that if we do go through all of the names on the list per year, like we did last year, right? We went all the way through Wilfred. So then we had to go into the Greek alphabet and started with alpha. Well, they said that, that got a little confusing for many folks, because of one of the reasons why was it's not in alphabetical order. So alpha, beta, C, no, G, gamma, delta, E, Z, E, T, I. So, we're used to these names. If you look at the list, it goes A, B, C, D, E, all the way through. We skip a couple letters here. But the Greek alphabet's backwards, and there are a couple other little things. So they don't translate well into Spanish and things like that. Was on a call the other day with the Hurricane Center and a weather conference, and they're explaining some of the reasoning behind it, and it made sense. But so that's gone, and so now what they'll have, instead of going to the Greek alphabet any year that we do, they're going to have this list of supplemental names, and you can see it does go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And just like a regular list, if a storm starts, so say we get to Braylon, and Braylon does a lot of damage somewhere, deaths, that type of thing, they'll retire Braylon off of this supplemental list. But the supplemental list will be there every year, the same list, right? Just in case we need it. And hopefully we won't need it. All right, let's talk about where we're at now. Look, we don't need to worry about storms now. Water's just barely getting to 80 degrees around here anyways. But it won't be long, right? Next month, we could get stuff form in May. In fact, it was the last 5 years alone, and I think it's 7 out of 10 we've had storms form before June 1st, which is the official beginning of the season. So you can see we're a ways out from that. But look at that, September 10th. That's basically the statistical peak of hurricane season. That might fluctuate a little bit over time, but it goes all the way through November 30th. But I say if you can get through Halloween, you can see it really drop off here. You get a second peak, trying to get a little peak down here in November, beginning of November. But if you get past Halloween, you're looking pretty good. So there you are. We got a ways out. And like I mentioned at the top, we start looking here in the Western Caribbean, but especially the Gulf first. That would be May and June. And then as the water heats up a little bit more, we start looking a little bit further off towards the east, more so in the Eastern Caribbean and even in the Bahamas, east of Florida, out in the Atlantics. And then once the water really starts getting warm in August, that's the main zone here when you get in the Eastern Caribbean, and you can see as we get into September out here in the Atlantic, right? But by that time, look what happens. Look at the Western Caribbean and the Gulf. It's warm everywhere, right? And it's a summertime pattern still at that point, for the most part, at least for here in Florida and tropically speaking. So you can get them forming all over the place. All right, having said all of that, I'll let you go. Still a minute left in the game. It only takes one storm, guys. That's it. So whatever these forecasts are, don't get worried about it. Maybe it make you feel better because we had 30 last year and the forecasts are less than that. But who knows? I'm trying to figure out when the rain's going to be this Sunday. Saturday night, Sunday. This is a forecast 6, 7, 8 months away. A total forecast of all those. So don't get too upset about this, but be prepared as you always should be anyways, right? Get that hurricane kit ready to go. Have that plan ready to go. Those two things right there basically cover you for everything that you're going to need. And they'll cover you for a thunderstorm that knocks the power out or does some damage to your house too, right? So you're always good to have it. 1992. Only had 7 named storms. Remember, the average is 12. We saw 30 last year. We only had 7 that year, but that first one that didn't form until August was Hurricane Andrew that slammed South Florida. So there you go. That's a reason to get prepared. Shoot, that changed the building codes here in Florida. So yeah. All right, guys. Quick couple questions before we go here. I'll let you go on this Thursday. Man, the weekend's almost here. Can you taste it? I can. I've even had some time off lately, but I don't know. I've been guess use more money to get more batteries and battery fans. I pray it's not like last year. Yeah, Doreen, a good thing to do when you're looking at budgeting is if you start now with your hurricane kit, you don't need to go out and buy the whole kit right now. Get a box, know what you're going to get, make a list maybe, and then every time you go to the store, just get a couple items and put them in there. And then over the next several weeks, maybe a month or so, you'll build that thing up. That's what you really want to do. And and if you haven't, it might be a good time to go through your kit from last year as well. All right. Lumber prices, I'm sure we hope that was slow season. Yeah, that's a great idea. Pam mentioned how much the lumber prices have gone up, and if you have to buy plywood to board up, it's going to get expensive. So keep that all in mind. All right, guys, that's it. I will let you go. We will be on TV tonight at 11 o'clock here on 10 Tampa Bay, CBS. I hope you have a great Thursday evening. If I don't talk to you personally here on Facebook by Friday, have a great weekend too.